From the rapid expansion of a cell cluster to the decay of radioactive isotopes, the exponential function is the universal mathematical language for dynamic systems. Because it describes so much of the natural world, we introduce e to the x early in high school calculus. We teach students to graph it, differentiate it, and apply it. But that early education relies on a massive, unproven geometric assumption. We establish what it means to raise a number to an integer or a rational fraction. Then we draw a smooth, continuous curve through those points, silently assuming that this curve perfectly dictates the value for an irrational exponent, like pi or the square root of 2. We skip the proof. In higher-level mathematics, relying on a visual intuition of a smooth curve is insufficient. To prove the strict behavior of real numbers, we must rebuild the function from absolute scratch. To actually establish the properties of e to the x and the natural logarithm, we have to abandon our geometric assumptions and construct everything from a single axiomatic foundation. That foundation is laid out in Walter Rudin's Principles of Mathematical Analysis, the definitive text for stripping away geometric crutches and applying pure logical deduction. In Chapter 8, Rudin constructs both the exponential and logarithmic functions using nothing but power series. We are going to map that exact logical chain. The absolute starting point is equation 25. Rudin defines e of z strictly as the infinite sum of z to the n divided by n factorial. At this stage, it is just an abstract polynomial. We will use this definition to build a strict dependency tree. Each algebraic derivation establishes the evidence for the subsequent theorem, mapping a path through the chapter's internal logic. This singular infinite polynomial is the mathematical DNA from which all known properties of exponents and logarithms will organically grow. Before manipulating the series, we apply the ratio test. The factorials in the denominator grow so quickly that this series converges absolutely for every complex number. We are free to do algebra with it. The first analytical step is multiplying two of these series together, e of z and e of w. Since they converge absolutely, we can rearrange the infinite terms using the Cauchy product. Grouping the terms of the exact same degree creates a recognizable pattern. The n factorials allow us to factor out the standard binomial coefficient. Collapsing that binomial expansion gives us equation 26, e of z plus w equals e of z times e of w. This is the addition formula, the engine driving the rest of the chapter. Every subsequent behavior of the function stems from this algebraic result. For example, if we set w to negative z, equation 27 shows that e of z times e of negative z must equal e of 0. Since the series for e of 0 is just 1, the product is exactly 1. Therefore, e of z can never equal 0. For real numbers, it must always be strictly positive. By simply multiplying a series by itself and collapsing the terms, we have mathematically conjured the core rules of exponents without looking at a single graph. To connect this series to familiar notation, Rudin defines Euler's number, e, strictly as the value of our series evaluated at 1. By applying our new addition formula, e of n becomes e to the n. This proves the series works identically to exponential notation for any positive integer. Equations 31 and 32 extend that logic. Using the addition formula again, the series behaves perfectly for all rational fractions. But here is the critical gap. We have isolated points for all fractions, but no mathematical proof for what happens when the input is an irrational number. To bridge this, Rudin introduces the supremum in equations 33 and 34. He defines e to the power of x as the least upper bound of all the rational values that come right before it. This logically fills the irrational holes on the real number line. By taking the limit of known rational boundaries, we lock the irrational values into place. Because the original power series is continuous and the supremum method is continuous, we have definitive proof that the abstract series e of x is identically equal to e to the x for every real number. The continuity of the curve is no longer an assumption. It is an unbroken logical chain constructed from the ground up. With the entire real number line secured, we reach Theorem 8.6, the master index of the exponential function's calculus properties. Because our original series consists entirely of positive terms when x is positive, adding more terms always increases the total. The function is strictly increasing. Differentiating the series term by term yields the exact same series back. Property B formally confirms its hallmark trait. The derivative of e to the x is exactly e to the x. But part F highlights the function's powerful behavior, its speed of growth approaching infinity. Look at the inequality in the proof. Because the total series is an infinite sum of positive terms, the entire function must be strictly greater than any single term inside it. Isolating just the n+1 term provides a hard mathematical boundary. Eventually, the factorials in the denominator allow the exponential curve to violently accelerate past any polynomial power of x. This extreme growth rate is a direct, inescapable consequence of the factorials hidden inside the original power series definition. Now we apply the inverse function theorem. Since we proved e of x is continuous and strictly increasing across all real numbers, mathematical law demands it has a perfect, unique inverse. This inverse is defined as L of y, what we know as the natural logarithm. It maps the set of all positive numbers strictly back to the real line. The core equation of this relationship is exact. E of L of y equals y. By differentiating both sides of that equation simultaneously using the chain rule, we can solve for the behavior of the logarithm. We already established that the derivative of e is itself. Substituting that fact into our chain rule equation forces a strict algebraic result for L. The math dictates that the derivative of L of y is exactly 1 over y, as shown in equation 38. Apply the fundamental theorem of calculus to that derivative, and we arrive at the classic integral definition of the logarithm. The famous integral definition of the natural log emerges as a necessary consequence of inverting our original power series. By combining our rigorously defined exponential and logarithmic functions, equation 43 allows us to define any base raised to an arbitrary power. With this locked, proving the classic power rule derivative in equation 44 requires only a simple application of the chain rule. We have achieved complete geometric harmony. The exponential growth curve and the logarithmic decay curve mirror each other perfectly across the axis. Every feature of this system is accounted for. The power series yielded the addition formula, which proved continuity and monotonicity, which guaranteed invertibility, which birthed the logarithm. Every familiar property of exponents has been mathematically chained back to a single infinite polynomial, without a single gap in logic. Higher mathematics and theoretical physics require this level of absolute rigor. Because the exponential function's rate of change equals its current state, it forms the inescapable governing law of probability distributions and chaotic dynamic systems. True mathematical understanding requires us to look past the shape of a graph and build the rules of the universe from an unshakable axiomatic bedrock. If you want to continue mapping the hidden architecture inside classic mathematics textbooks, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We will keep pulling apart the formulas you use every day to show you the rigorous foundation underneath. Thanks for watching.